So you might hear our boiler kick on because it's like -7 outside, and that sucker is working overtime right now.
Rafi's tips for artists because he loves you.
Hola, you amazing artists, and welcome to the studio, where today I'm going to talk about how to plan out your year of awesome. So pretty much around this time of year, which, by the way, you guys, Happy New Year! Klee and I set aside time so that we can plan out our year accordingly, and I wanted to share what it is, what the process is that we do, because this is a process that it's kind of like evolved over time. I wanted to share it with you guys because it's super helpful for us, and I thought it would be helpful for you. So one of the first things we do is that we reflect on the past year, and it's important to do this because it's easy to go throughout your year and get to the end and feel like you didn't really accomplish anything. There are 4 questions that we ask ourselves. What felt successful? A lot of times that's when I go through my Instagram page and I look at pictures of the different things that I've done in order to see what are my accomplishments last year. Last year, for example, was the first time that we got a grant to do an artist workshop, and that was really, really cool. We also got to judge a face-off special effects competition, which was almost like a dream come true. It allows you to look at last year and see, okay, what are the things that worked? How is it that I grew this year? What are the stepping stones that got me to where I am? What are the things that I could improve, and what are the things that I could simplify? One of the things that we're simplifying from last year is instead of having our memberships happen on the Rogue site, we moved back to Patreon. As it turns out, when you're trying to do a membership site and you have a lot of plugins that update frequently, what ends up happening is your website glitches all the time, and instead of getting into the studio and creating art and doing art-centric things, you find yourself being tech support for the majority of your year, and then you're miserable and everything sucks. So this year, in order to improve on that and do it better, we decided to move things back to Patreon, and already I have all the time in the world. So this is amazing. So the next thing that we do is that we define our goals, and I have this sheet. It's a Rogue Yearly that I made up, where it just has the months laid out, and at the bottom here what we do is we fill out what are the things that we want to do. I want to create some tarot cards, some oracle cards. I have some sculptures that I'm working on. You guys, I'm working on sculptures this year. They're going to be amazing. I already did my first one. I have some series that I want to bring back and some new series that I want to create, and so all that, you kind of just brain dump that on the bottom of the sheet. We sit down and we figure out all right, when are we going to release these things? What are our plans as far as shows, events, things like that? So we kind of lay everything out. And this is more of a scratch sheet of paper that remains flexible, but it allows me to look at my entire year and say, okay, well, this is doable. I could probably do this at this point or that point or whatever. It lays it out where you could see it and you could define for yourself whether or not it's doable, right? Because a lot of times I think one of the biggest issues that I run into is that I give myself all kinds of goals, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do all these things, and then I don't give myself enough time to do them. So that allows me to take at one glance, be able to see and actually make sense of my year. The next thing that we do after we've done that and just kind of played around with that, right? Because this is the fun part. It's oh, let's come up with some harebrained ideas and come up with all these cool things that we're going to do, is we do a brain dump. We'll write down on a note card something like, let's say, book, right? And then underneath that, I'll do note cards with every single step, basically break it down into write the book, edit the book, do this, get the ISBNs, get the copyright, post it on here, post it on there, promote your book, so that we can really get an idea of what are the things that we're doing, the little tiny things, the little steps that it takes to get to creating a book and putting it out there. We have the art stuff. So what do I need to do with art? First off, I need to order materials or get materials somehow in order to be able to create the art. I gotta create the art, so I gotta give myself time in the studio. I have to have some kind of system in place. I have to ship art, so I gotta make sure that I order boxes and that I have time for shipping. Just kind of lay everything out for yourself so that you can really see, really identify what are these steps that need to take place in order for this to happen. Now it's laid out where you could visually see. I don't know about you guys, but I need to visually be able to see it. I can't just think about it in my brain. I have to see it in front of me so I could determine, oh shit, this is too much, or all right, what do I need to eliminate here? How can I simplify the entire process for all these different things that we do? At that point, Klee and I will pull out our monthly planners and kind of like start laying out a plan for next year, right? And the thing about it, you guys, is when it comes to this stuff, you got to remember life happens. So stay flexible with it. So because I didn't get into studio as much as I wanted to last year, this year I'm bringing back an old goal that I had when I first started, which I wanted to be very prolific when it came to art, at least 150 pieces a year. Now, I didn't come near that last year because honestly, the glitches just took over my life. I know that if I want to do 150 a year, that means that I need to create at least 12 pieces a month, which on average averages out to about 3 pieces a week, which means for me personally in the studio, I have to have at least 9 projects going. By doing that, then I can pretty much guarantee that I will at least get 3 pieces done that week. Now, if I don't get 3 pieces done that week and it carries over to the next week and I get more pieces done, none of that matters, right? It's a loose goal. Like, I'm just aiming for 150 pieces. If I could do more, I will do more. Have an idea that you're going to do this thing at this point, but if like life happens, you know, be willing to move that. Like, it's okay to move things. It's not like, oh, I didn't get this done and thus I'm a failure. Don't do that to yourself. Like, once that's done, we pretty much have an idea of what our year is going to look like. For us, because we do create so many different things like books and music and all that stuff, it's important for us to have a general idea of when it is that we're going to release these things, and making sure that we give ourselves time to focus on those things. Then on top of that, we set certain goals for ourselves. Some of them are a little extreme. Like, for example, I want to release 2 books a year. Now, that's what I want to do. Is it going to happen? I don't know, but I do know that I want to release a book in April that I'm already working on. I want to debut my sculptures in May. You know what I mean? Like, so like you kind of want to plan things out and things that you already know. So for example, if you're doing art fairs or anything like that, you want to write them down in the month that it's happening. So I know every year we do book fair in August. So, you know, maybe I want to release my book before then to make sure that, you know, I have a new book for book fair or something. You guys, make sure that you don't just arbitrarily put things under. Like, really think of the process that it's going to take to balance these different projects that you're working on and when your release date is going to be and what the end goal of that release date is going to be. Like, are you doing an event or gallery show where that's where you're going to debut certain series and things like that? And on top of that, think about like, all right, how am I going to promote this? Am I going to do posters and things like that for that? Or am I just posting online? So the other thing that I do is like anything that's going to take some time. So for example, like my son is coming in March, that's going to be on there. So it's pretty much like looking at like, what are the things that you know are happening? What are the things that you want to get done? You know, we want to do 2 music gigs where we play music live this year. And so like we have the months where it's like, all right, well, why don't we look around that time and see what it is that we could do out there, whether we organize our own music gig by just playing music on our lawn or we actually do it somewhere else. You got this outline for your year, and that's the way that we use this thing. By the way, you guys, if you want this, the link below, you could download this for free. I mean, you could just create your own, but like, if you want one that's done, the link is down below. And finally, the other things that we do are just kind of like housekeeping, I guess. Update portfolios, bios, or anything else that needs to be updated. We get rid of the things that you've been holding on to. Let's say that there's like an old commission that the person like flaked on you or something like that, and you've just been kind of holding on to this and hiding it away. Clean up your space. You get rid of all the old from last year that you're like, you know what? I don't want to deal with that anymore. And then you make room for new stuff. The other thing we do is evaluate and update our website information, the social media information. I could tell you right now that when it comes to social media, there's probably a bunch of like old links on my social media because I've not done this yet. And this is really something that you should do every year. So yeah, just kind of like check that information, make sure that everything is where it needs to be and how it needs to be so that there isn't any like weird links that don't lead to anything. So the next thing I do is like think about networking and collaboration. So I set up a system where I could view event calendars. So basically on my Google Chrome, I have a folder that has like all the local event calendars. So I could really start keeping an eye on what kind of things are going on. And even if I miss them this year, I could jot them down and put them in my planner for next year to like find out, okay, how do I get into this show? A lot of you guys will ask, like, how do you find the shows that you do? And in all honesty, the best way to find shows is to just do shows, like small events, and meet with people and look at local calendars. Local calendars. I know that it's really easy to go online and be like, all right, let's see what kind of art shows there are. Unfortunately, the art shows that get promoted the most are the ones that charge a lot of money to be in them. And I'm a big fan of just doing like small local things that maybe it's going to cost like 10 to 50 bucks to like set up. And that's the reason that I'll look at event calendars for like all the towns, all the surrounding towns, like this entire area. And that helps me plan for next year. You know, like I'm obviously some of those I'm going to find out about them after the fact, but it does help you plan for the year ahead. One of the other things we do is we update our budget. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't have a budget, create a budget. You need to have some kind of budget, some kind of thing where you're keeping track of the money that comes in and the money that goes out. I know that that seems daunting, but just create a budget. The final thing that we do, and this is important, like after we've laid everything out and we're like, oh, this is how it's going to be, we approach this with self-care. Right. So it's like, all right, am I being good to myself or am I being like a taskmaster and just like, you know, get to work and all that stuff? Like, you need to take time out for self-care. And I suggest that you put it in there. You plan it in your planner, in your yearly, have things in there that revolve around self-care, whether it's going for a hike, having a day where you stare at the clouds, whatever it is. Have it in there. That's pretty much it, other than review and adjust often. So we kind of like, we will look at this and review it every month as we go month to month, see like where did we get to? Oh, do I need more time to be able to do this thing? And I know that this is a lot of like writing and planning and things like that. Again, stay really flexible when it comes to this, you know, like it's just, basically, you're just brain dumping some ideas. You're getting excited about and having some harebrained ideas of like, oh, this is what I'm going to do this year. And then you're allowing yourself to kind of like write it down and like plan it out and be like, all right, well, maybe I'll release this time, or maybe I'll release this on this month or something like that. How am I going to release it? What are the things that I'm going to do? It gives you a realistic point of view on how it is that you're going to approach your year. And I love this time. This is honestly really fun for Klee and I because we allow ourselves to like think really big and lay everything out and then just kind of plan it and see like, all right, let's see if we can pull this off this year. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully you guys found that helpful. And again, I want to thank the Rogue Artist community. Our rogues are amazing. We just did the transfer over to Patreon for the memberships. And yeah, let me hurry up before the boiler kicks on again. So thank you guys so much. You guys are absolutely amazing and I totally adore you. And if you like this and you want to watch more like this, just go ahead and click right over here to subscribe. And adios.